Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this edition of El Cafecito. I'm Aaron Espinoza, Inclusion and Engagement Leader with the Multicultural Office. With us today, we have Joe Navarro, Secretary and Esports Director for the ASU Gameclub. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. How about you, Aaron?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's a great start to the day.
Yes, sir.
So let's go ahead and get started. What current trend makes no sense to you?
I gotta say, in my opinion, I still don't get why little kids seem to love Fortnite and Fortnite dancing and just making that a huge meme out of it. Like, I get that it's a fun game and everything, but you know, as you evolve as a gamer,
Uh,
that kind of little kid behavior kind of gets on your nerves a little
it's
bit.
wild too because I see it in my younger step siblings. Like they love it. They will, and it's so odd. It's so addictive. It's like a drug to them. It's wild. But like I guess that's you're right because as we age, you kind of go from that like maybe more kid oriented platforming game, and then like you're like, oh, I want to play Halo now. I want to play Call of Duty, and it's like the transition that happens overnight. It's wild.
Exactly.
But no, yeah. Okay, serious fun question for you now. Do you think aliens exist?
I think aliens do exist. It's just a matter of time until we find them, and hopefully they'll be friendly towards our civilization, just like hopefully we'll be the same back to them.
I hope so. You know, it'll work way one or the other. Let's hope for the best outcome on that one. What fictional character do you identify the most with?
I think I sort of identify the most with kind of like the Harry Potter style of characters. So someone who's not anything out of the ordinary of his own accord, but still goes on to prevail as, kind of the protagonist of the story. And even to that sense, I don't think I identify with one character in particular, just the sense of underdog, like coming up against
Yeah,
the odds, making do with what you got. That's kind of the definition of a college student. So that
yeah.
fits me perfectly right now.
I like that a lot. That's awesome. I really like that kind of like the. And I would probably say it's the same for me that like I can't pick a favorite because I think we see ourselves in the people that we like associate with, and what pop culture, whether it's video games, books, literature, things like that. That's awesome. I like the way that you explain that. Are there any apps on your phone that you just can't live without?
I think my favorite app right now would have to be Webtoon. It's an app that features, comics and mangas and
Uh,
stuff. And, it's the perfect thing just to like have my daily comics come up, those developing artists release it onto the platform. It's like, I
mhm.
just need a little 5-10 minute break from my studies,
Yeah,
from, my project that I'm working on. That way I can clear my head and come back a little bit more focused.
that's very important. You got to take those breaks. You can't burn yourself out. What interesting hobbies do you have, if any?
Um, my favorite hobbies right now are more in line with gaming. So
Mhm.
right now, I work as the secretary and esports director, of course, for the Angelo State Gameclub, and I
Uh,
put a lot of my time into that. Trying to work with our other officers to figure out what games would be good for our community, whether they're free, cheap, or just really popular, where we'd see a large player base for it, and then just trying to promote it in a way that gets our name out there. And right now, this semester is the best time for that because everything is going virtual. So we have the ability to host ourselves virtually on an app called Discord. So we've
mhm.
been running with that as much as we can.
That's awesome. One thing I'm going to kind of go off on a little tangent, and it's probably totally unrelated. Uh, this game called Among Us, I've seen trending on Twitter, and I was like, coming at it like from nothing. I'm like, well, what is it about? Like, like I see these like little characters in spacesuits. I'm like, maybe like an alien story. I don't know. I was like, so it kind of piqued my interest. Looked into it. I was like, this is actually really cool. It, it's fun because it pits you against each other in your friend group. So it's like, who's the killer? Who's not the killer? Like, are we gonna eject them? And I really like that'd be really cool to see. I know there's probably a whole slew of problems trying to get that because
No, actually, that's one of our most popular games right now because it's a really simple game.
Mhm.
It does take time to learn, just like with any game, but it
Yeah.
comes down to either you're a crewmate trying to do tasks and find the imposter, or the imposter trying to eliminate people from the ship. And not only that, platform wise, it's fairly easy for our students to interact with. You can either get it on your computer for $5, on Steam. That's really cheap for our students. Or you can get it on the phone for free right now. And both of those platforms share servers. They actually just did a server update that cleaned up a lot of the technical issues that we had connecting with player lobbies and everything. So that game has certainly become one of our community's favorites for our game nights.
I'm gonna have to give it a shot then, because like the only thing that was kind of like not necessarily like turning me away from it, but it was more so like the paywall. So I'm like, I'm kind of broke. I don't know if I can pay for a game right now. But no, I'm gonna have to get in and kind of get in with you guys now.
Yeah, come over by the Discord. It's listed in the bio of our socials at ASU Gameclub over on Instagram and Twitter. So if you want to check us out.
Awesome, sweet, I will. All right, let's carry on now. I'm sorry I got us off.
Oh, it's all right, man. It's all
right. When was the last time you stayed up through the night?
I think the last time I stayed up through the night was towards the end of the summer, right before the beginning of the semester. And that was just to try to reset my sleep schedule, because at that point in time, I was staying up till like 3 or 4 a.m. and I'm like waking up at 10 a.m. and I'm going to start missing classes if I don't do something to fix this sleep schedule. So I'm like, I'm staying up all night. And then after that, I'm telling my body to reset the schedule.
Yeah.
So that worked out for me.
That's got to be a tough one. Kind of going into our next one, it's a 30-second challenge. So the way this works is, you try your best to answer it within the 30 seconds. If not, totally cool. But excuse me. I guess it's kind of redundant. 30-second challenge. Are you a morning or a night person, and why?
I think I'm a night person just because at the end of the day, I have that steam to keep going. I'm already awake. I'm not having to worry about, I got to shower. I got to get dressed. I got to maybe eat breakfast. It's just that I'm already there and I just have to choose, do I keep going or do I go to bed for the night? And that's how simple it is for me.
I like that. Well, what's the most ironic thing you've seen happen?
I honestly don't recall too much. I think the most ironic thing, to be honest, is whenever I'm working at Whataburger. And, our huge thing is working and making burgers. But the most ironic thing is when sometimes we get so busy trying to make the burgers that one of my coworkers will accidentally miss the meat on the burger. This has only happened a couple of times. I worked there for quite a few years, so you see everything. But it comes back, and we always know what's happened. So we all give them a little bit of shame, and then we just keep going.
That's odd. I like that kind of camaraderie that you guys have. But it's probably such a fast-paced work environment. It's bound to happen. So, what is the most out of character thing you have ever done?
I think the most out of character thing that I've ever done was there were some times when I was probably a few years ago when I kind of got real angry, and this was kind of like end of high school, probably beginning of college. So it's just that point of I felt I was cornered. I didn't know where I was going in life. Kind of like you're driving towards the edge of a cliff, or what you perceive as the edge of a cliff, and you're panicking. So that was the most out of character experience for me, because I got angry at my parents and at my siblings. Even if it was very brief, it still felt alien to me.
Yeah, I can kind of see that in myself as well. As not for me, it was more so. Like you said, that feeling of being lost, where do I go from here? I know I'm kind of going off again. For me and my best friend, it's kind of we always kind of relate to this. It's when we graduated high school, it's well, what do I do now? This was supposed to be the culmination. I didn't know that we were actually going to go past this, and it's
right.
It's that feeling of lost and aloofness. You don't know what to do, but then you have to start to make a plan, find a map, maybe not a linear progression, but you start to okay, I can do this and this and this. Then all of a sudden you're an adult and you're I don't have time for anything now. And it's just it's a sad process somewhat, but it just happened. But
yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah. Sorry, that went deep. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine, man. This is a conversation.
Awesome. Okay, so in 3 words, describe yourself.
I pulled this from back when I was in middle school, because we had actually the exact same prompt.
Right.
My favorite 3 words to describe myself are joyous, outstanding, and elated. And those 3 words are reflective of my name, Joe.
Mhm.
So I try to be the optimistic person, the positive person, and the person who's gonna give it their all no matter what tasks they're given.
That's awesome. I really like that. Like you're ready to go.
Yes, sir.
um, if magic was real, what spell would you try to learn first?
Probably
To-
some sort of spell that would make textbooks cheaper, if anything.
I think you speak for all of us, Joe. There's no good way and even to that extent, it's like, tell me which textbooks I'm actually going to be using. If we're really
I
talking
know,
about the
right? Like
elephant in the
some
room.
of them I'll buy, and it's like I'm buying a $300 textbook just to get, an access code. It's like, why
Yeah,
not just sell me the access code?
give me the code alone. um, what's the best advice you have specifically for first generation students?
My best advice is to approach this with an open slate. So, no matter what you have going into this, no matter what plans or what concepts you have into this, understand that your perception is going to change. And I can speak for
Mhm.
that because I came in as a top 10% high school student thinking I was, cream of the crop, I don't need to study, I know what I'm doing.
Uh-huh.
And then I start getting C's in my classes, and I'm like, I had to actually study. I had to pay attention in class. I got to take notes. And,
Mhm.
this was something that I didn't foresee. So obviously my exact situation is not going to be the same as yours, but be prepared for things to change whenever you enter college.
Mhm. I think that's excellent advice. So much of like, be ready for adaptation because you have,
Precisely.
you have that idea in your mind, but you may get like totally blindsided by what's coming. But next question: what game have you spent the most hours playing?
That would have to be a game called Rainbow Six Siege. It was actually the first game that I started playing on
Okay.
PC. And
No.
so I played that for a while on an HP notebook. And if you don't know,
Yeah.
if you're not a computer person, an HP notebook is a $400 laptop. The thing would blue screen half of the time whenever I was trying to play this game. And I literally couldn't play any other game unless it was like a little indie browser game.
Uh-huh.
So ultimately, that game got me started in, connecting with the game club. I actually played for Angelo State's esports team. We had esports teams
Oh,
in Rainbow Six Siege back when I was a freshman and a sophomore. We didn't win anything, of course, but we got ourselves started to building the gaming community on campus, and that actually got me connected to get some remote jobs working as a esports admin.
that's awesome. That's really awesome. I'm so glad that we have individuals like you who are like kind of like pushing into that fray, if you will. Like that's not something that 5 years ago we would have thought we would have had. It was very new. So my
Right.
you know my support.
I just can't wait to grow the esports community because we have individuals who will come in wanting to compete for
Mhm.
Rocket League or League of Legends or something, but
Mhm.
it's just that it's still at ASU, at least, that the gaming community isn't really as interconnected and interwoven as it needs to be for
Mhm.
everyone to be able to make teams and compete, if nothing else, for fun as
Yeah,
well as the chance to win a prize.
yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. So I'm gonna go off on another tangent. Um, Personally, I have little to no experience with PC gaming just because like I guess I've never had the access to it, but I'm more of a console gamer. So kind of give me, what's your opinion, console versus PC gaming?
Honestly, both of them have their merits. In my opinion, PC is better because while it can be more expensive depending on how high you go, it is also more versatile. For example, I'm talking to you right now on my two monitor gaming PC
Uh,
setup. So this helps me facilitate with my classes or interviews such as this or job interviews for my accounting degree.
mhm.
Meanwhile, a console can be used for maybe YouTube, video games, and maybe browsing, Microsoft Edge if you really want to be like that. But it's
Mhm.
not as interconnected.
Fair point. I'll have to agree with you on that. uh, what? 1 second. I think I lost myself. No, there we go. Another 30-second challenge. What is your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure definitely has to be food. Um, growing up, I lost some friends to certain addictions. Luckily, I made my addiction something that is beneficial to me. And so just food in general, trying to make sure I don't, you know, spend too much on candy or burgers
Uh,
or whatever. Just trying to, you know, I enjoy food a lot. And to that sense, I'm trying to learn cooking. It's kind of hard because living at home means
Uh-huh.
that my family has a tendency to use my ingredients for their own
Uh-huh.
meals, but I'm I'm learning.
There you go. The efforts there. That's all I can say. Cooking is it's of course very useful skill, but like as you learn to pick up different tricks, it's amazing. You know, like you learn like, oh, I can do this much instead of this much. Like you learn to like kind of eyeball things. So at least from my perspective, I think, as long as the effort's there, you're gonna do amazing.
Yes, sir.
What do you do when you hear something fall in the middle of the night?
Honestly, I probably just sleep through it.
Sleep through it.
Either sleep through it or I have my gaming headset on and it's like sort of soundproof. So unless it's like right here in my arm's reach, I'm not going to hear it. Maybe I'll get up to go to bed or something. It's like, oh, something fell. Let me put that back up.
Uh-huh.
But, it wouldn't scare me. I'd be asleep or I'd be doing something on my computer.
See, for me, I think I feel like when I have like earphones in or something, and like I can't necessarily hear it, but I can feel like the vibration of whatever fell. Of course, I live in an apartment, so it could have been someone on the other side of the wall or someone downstairs. I'm like, who's here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But what is your best childhood memory?
Oh, I think my favorite childhood memory has to be high school drumline. And
Oh,
really, that's a collection of memories.
mm,
The one that I kind of want to quote is one where I was a freshman in high school. I was in the drumline and percussion section, and I actually attended school locally here at Central High School. They
mm,
have this big, massive 18-wheeler truck to fit all of our percussion equipment. I'm talking like the big
ah,
marimbas, the timpanis, and everything. And I would always be one of the ones helping with that.
uh-huh.
One of the high school seniors, someone known as AJ, I'm not in touch with him anymore, but at the time he was working with the pit, which is the people who play all the marimbas and the timpanis
Mhm.
and stuff. He was also loading and stuff, and he noticed me, someone who technically doesn't need to help all of them with their equipment because I have my own drumline stuff, helping them every single game. And so he actually ended up asking me if I was a Boy Scout, which I was. I attended Boy Scout Troop 363. I actually became an Eagle Scout by the time I aged out at 18. But at the time, I was still rather new to Boy Scouts. And so knowing that people can see who I am, how my attitude reflects who I am inside, really hit me home right there, especially since it was a senior that I never really talked to. So that really connected with me well on how I can have a positive influence on the world around me.
That's great. I really like that. They were able to like not necessarily take you at face value and kind of like judge a book by its cover, but they could see your character by your actions, and I really like that. That's awesome, man. Awesome. What is your biggest phobia? And we're kind of changing pace here, going back to
Oh,
phobias now.
I don't think I have too many fears necessarily. I'm sure they would jump up at me as soon as I was in the
Yeah.
situation. But I think my two half fears would kind of be heights slash the fear of falling from somewhere high. Of course, this is San Angelo, so we don't have that fear
Yeah.
really active. And then my other fear, or at least extreme dislike, is the idea of like medical stuff, like
Mhm.
surgery or anything like that. That just makes me so nervous.
Yeah. I mean, hospital settings really scary. I'm a nursing major. I'm learning all like these diseases and different like microbiology. I'm like, everything can kill us kind of thing. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. But next question. What outdated slang do you use on a regular basis?
Hmm. I think the best example would be one of my friends from esports got me hooked on saying poggers whenever something
Uh-huh.
is
There-
really good. And I'm talking about like actually saying it out loud in conversation because
uh-huh.
I, I'm friends with a lot of people IRL who are also gamers that
Uh,
I play with virtually. So, something's really fun or whatever, and we're just having a good time, pog champ, poggers,
there you
and
go.
that's kind of out of date.
I like that. I really like that. That's really cool. That's cool that you can carry that kind of like slang and like jargon out into the real world like that. I like that. That like everything carries for y'all. That's awesome. What are some tips and tricks you've picked up as a college student?
Be paranoid. I'm not even joking. The best thing you can do is be paranoid. Check your emails multiple times a day. Check Blackboard multiple times a day. Check the other sites, Connect or Willy Plus or Top Hat or whatever other programs professor use. Get yourself a calendar. I finally broke down, and this is my 3rd year. I got myself a calendar. I have a planner in my backpack. I'm tired of forgetting stuff. I'm tired of having to do things at the last minute because I didn't realize they were there. So I look it up at least at the beginning of every week, if nothing else. So I'll look it up and make sure, okay, this week, what do I have due? Let me make sure that's on my board no matter what. So at least I have the week to do it rather than the last, 4 hours of it when a final announcement is sent.
Very important. Very important. Like, if that's like, if it was in like the Bible of like college student, they like, put it on your calendar. What is something you think everyone should do at least once in their life?
I think at least once in their life, everyone needs to evaluate where they are and where they're going. And if that may not be as flashy as like, a bucket list of jumping off of, Mount Everest or something like that, but it's a realistic thing that everyone needs to approach, because as you change, your goals are going to change and you might not even realize it. So taking that step back, taking even a break. I took a break this summer after our virtual classes ended just to have fun and take a mental assessment of like, what am I doing? How can I improve? Where can I go from here?
That's awesome. I really think, and then, kind of to like capitalize on what you said, I think we forget a lot about how important mental health is, because, like we're just in our society, we're just like, go, where can we go to next? We're always, and that's not a bad thing either. We're always striving for more, but we often forget to continue to take the time to relax for a second.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I love working with the ASU Gameclub so much, because our dedication is not to, necessarily network you or anything like that. All of that stuff is pluses, but our dedication is to give you the platform to relax, to have fun. We'll have some of our members come to us and they'll be like, hey, I want to pay for a Minecraft server so everyone can play together. Or I found this new game, I'm willing to buy it for a couple of people, if you're going to play it, and we see our community come together because it's of need to them to find an avenue to have fun and relax.
I really like that. There's almost like a familial sense of like, of closeness in your group. And I really admire that about you guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Really tough question for you. I'm going to really need the correct answer on this one. Pancakes or waffles?
I'm gonna have to say pancakes, and
no.
I'm gonna say pancakes simply because you can make pancakes and waffles equally as tasty. Putting chocolate chips in them, or making tres leche, or putting whatever syrup you want on them. It is impossible to spread butter on waffles easily. Like, you're gonna waste more time spreading butter on waffles than you are eating them.
That's a fair point. I mean, I'm still partial to waffles, but we'll go with that. I'll give you, pancakes are fair. What songs hit you with a wave of nostalgia every time you hear it?
The song that always hits me is gonna be "Warren" from 10th Avenue North, and that's more of a positive alternative song. But that song, no matter, I think, in my opinion at least, no matter what your beliefs are, that hits you because you hear the songs open with "I'm tired, I'm worn," and that just connects with you. The way the notes drag out as if they themselves are worn, the melody of it, even though I'm not the most religious person now as I was compared to my childhood, because I'm still finding who I am in life, it still connects with me because I can see that I'm worn, and it's not just me who needs to influence myself. I need to let others influence me to build myself up.
I like that's I never thought, I never really thought about it like that. That's interesting. What topic could you spend hours talking about?
Honestly, probably Star Wars. I work at Ram Radio, and Hayden Hayden Springer over at Ram Radio, shout out to him. Me and him will get into discussions about Star Wars, and it will be stuff about our opinions on like the sequel trilogy, the prequel trilogy, all of the minute details that we can think of, whether it's video games, movies, books, we'll just have a lot of fun talking about it, even if we do have different opinions, because that means we can actually have kind of a debate back and forth, even if there isn't a winner at the end of it.
Okay, so I'm going to go on tangent a little bit too, again. Sorry. Right. So I'm a fan of the Clone Wars, right? I love the ending. It was a very beautiful ending with Ahsoka and Rex. What do you think of the rumors about The Mandalorian season 2? I mean, of course, I know we have.
What do you mean rumors? They just launched the season 2 official trailer about 2 hours ago.
I haven't seen it then. But like I've over the summer and thing, I've kind of been like following on. Like, I keep hearing that we're gonna see like a live action Ahsoka, and I'm like, that's what I'm excited for. She's like my favorite.
I'm excited for that. I'm a little bit nervous, particularly because Disney is either hit or miss with their Star Wars movies. So we have movies like Rogue One, which is probably the only Disney movie besides maybe The Force Awakens that I say that they did a good job on. Very little things that can be bad about that. And then you have things like The Last Jedi, the ninth movie whose name The Rise of Skywalker, and then Solo, which seems more like a money grab or too much of a subversion to be believable.
See, I enjoyed the plot of the final movie, like if we were just going on the ride, but because I know a lot of the background information, I'm kind of like, this is a lot of fan service, like too much.
Like just the fact that like if it would have been that simple, just to round out that tangent a little bit, because this is the topic I can go on
a
long time about. If it would be that simple where Lando can go around and just get everyone just by flying the Millennium Falcon, what's the purpose of like sending out the why not have him doing that sooner? Like, that just makes no sense to me. And then the sheer amount of ships that you can just see CGI copied and pasted. It's like, make it a realistic number at least. Make it a close battle maybe, and like ships keep flooding in over time.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on that. But like, I was like, I don't know what else I can stand upon. Like, I totally agree with you. But we have to move on, unfortunately. This one may be actually the same answer. I don't know yet. But what movie universe would you choose to live the rest of your life in? It's a tough one. There's so many to choose from, right?
Part of me wants to say the John Wick universe, except for the fact that would be basically real life, unless, I'm involved in the Hitman thing.
There you go.
And then part of me would, of course, say Star Wars. Now, ideally, it wouldn't be the Disney Star Wars, or at least it would include the good Disney parts.
Let's consider Star Wars universe as Legends universe. I would love to live in the Old Republic. Revan and stuff. Hard one. What are some clever examples of misdirection you've seen before?
I think a clever example of misdirection is just sort of going with the flow. So not outright, saying like you're against something necessarily, but finding an alternative way to change someone's perspective or look or way of going about things. So like you could say that you love the color green, and instead of saying, well, green's horrible, I could say, but blue is the color of the sky, and come about it a way that is more civil and more professional rather than just head on.
That's a really good concept. You don't. It's things like that you don't really necessarily think about. We're always quick to jump and like head on, I guess, like you said.
Yeah.
Excuse me. All right. Truth or dare?
Let's go with truth.
All right. What is one thing you would never do, even if someone offered you all the money in the world?
I think one thing I would never do, even if someone offered me all the money in the world, would honestly probably be someone to test like spaceships, like be the astronaut strapped onto the brand new SpaceX thing that hasn't been tested by anyone else before. While it's really cool and they would probably pay me a lot, I just like the chance of something going wrong.
See, I don't know. I mean, I think, I'd kind of be cool. I'm like, send me into space, put me to sleep, and whoever finds me, like,
Put me on the tested mode, the one that has, like, this has gone through 100 iterations.
there
It's been
you go.
tested by thousands of people. You're safe.
Yeah.
Then I can at least trust you on that.
The risk of anything happening is minute at best, right?
Right.
Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
Honestly, probably either here in San Angelo, hopefully
Mhm.
working with Angelo State, maybe, for their esports program, or some other position, maybe in their accounting offices,
Mhm.
or somewhere in the world, finding my way.
I like-
It's for me, it's not pegged down just yet, because on one hand, I'm doing my accounting degree,
Uh-huh.
which, I'm good with math. I enjoy doing that. And then on the other hand, I have my esports jobs where that fits my gamer attitude. That
Yeah,
fits my personal interests.
that's great. I like that. I keep on using that same phrase. I will repeat phrases, and you've probably picked up on it, but I really admire your the way you look at, the way you look towards the future. You don't see it as a linear function versus as here are the paths that are open to me, you kind of see it as a river, where can I go, where can I not go, kind of thing.
Precisely.
I like that. What's your personal motto? One second.
Go. All right.
There you go. What would you consider?
I think my personal motto, and I'm going to have to give context on this
Yeah,
because
go
this is
ahead.
going to sound really weird, is more along the lines of a book quote. And that quote is Eddie would go.
Mm-hmm.
The context of that is that in the novel that I read that contained this quote, Eddie was a local Hawaiian legend who embodied foolish optimism, optimism even in the most dire situations. And he actually ended up dying in the novel trying to save someone else from a horrible storm. So in the novel itself, the locals, whenever they're having a tough decision, faced with the dire situations, they would say to themselves, Eddie would go, to give themselves that boost of optimism. So that's kind of the motto that I live my life by. Why look at it horribly when you can prepare for the horribleness and then move optimistically?
That's awesome. I like that as well. Sorry, there we go again. I like that. Sorry. What brand would you say you're most loyal to?
I gotta say that would probably be Whataburger, because I've worked
There you
there for
go.
almost 4 years. As a kid growing up, I knew I wanted a job at Whataburger. I love eating there. The food is wonderful there. Every time I go there, the cashiers will be like, "All right, how long are you gonna take to the side? Because I can't. I look at the menu and it's like, I love everything. Can you just give me everything?"
Just one of everything. What would you say, or what's your haunted house story?
To be honest, I haven't been to many haunted houses. The few that I've been to, I think my haunted house story would have to be going to a local church's haunted house with my family and seeing my sister get scared by someone like trying to give her candy inside the haunted house. And ultimately that was just a very fun night for us because usually me and my sister are at odds just because of like the age difference. She's in that age of where she's a little bit more on the angsty side, middle school, high school.
Yeah.
And so me and her butt heads. But for that night, we connected, especially because she was scared and she's like, protect me.
You had that. You were like, yeah, you like, that's awesome. What would you say is your secret talent?
I think my secret talent would probably have to be, people always tell me that I have a way with words, whether it's, my esports players telling me that I sound like a politician, or some of my friends telling me that I should be like an advisor or a counselor when I grow up. It's just the fact that I can think about what I'm going to say before I say it and then use that to try to influence how someone may feel. So if someone's feeling down, I'll try to make sure to watch my words so that they don't feel worse off.
Yeah, that's great. I think we could all be more like you, honestly, if in that regard. We should be careful. I think it's less so about the way we speak it and how we convey it. I think there's a huge difference in those two concepts, because we can say something, but the execution may fall flat, if that makes sense.
Precisely.
Yes. What's your favorite event on campus?
My favorite event on campus, it's technically two.
Okay.
So the first one is one offered by Angelo State during the orientation events. And so that's usually wherever they set up a bunch of games. And, it's like at the UC, and it's like stay up late and play some games, or it's over near the Angelo Plaza over by Plaza Verde and the Caf, and they have like games and stuff. And over there, you'll see them bring like the video game trailer, like Go Games or whatever, and like other stuff. That's one of the few opportunities that gaming culture has to develop by Angelo State's hand. So I particularly enjoy that because that's actually how I met the Gameclub, if I recall correctly. I met a few of them there. They invited me. And then lo and behold, a couple years later, I'm one of the officers now.
I really like that story. That's awesome.
The other event has to be a one-time event that the Gameclub did last year for National Video Game Day. We partnered with the Angelo State Library to run the event in one of their side rooms. That glass room that has all those TV screens?
I actually remember that.
Yeah, so that was actually our biggest event ever. We had people coming in and out. People have a lot of fun, and some people even brought their own stuff. Like we had one of our members bring their own virtual reality set, and we were passing it around so people could play games like Super Hot and like, all in slow motion and everything that. So obviously COVID has prevented us from running it this past September 12th, but I can't wait for the pandemic to be over so we can start running some of these big things again, hopefully working with Angelo State departments more and more to become more established here on campus.
That's awesome. I have high hopes for you guys as well.
Thank you.
When was a time you acted nonchalant but were going crazy inside?
That has to be probably any time that I do something esports related. So whenever I got my first contract to start getting paid, because for probably a year and a half, I did unpaid work, just trying to build like my resume of like, oh yeah, you can actually trust me with esports stuff.
Yeah.
But then like whenever I get the contract, like I'm freaking out, and by like I'm nonchalant. Like I'll go to my parents like, yeah, I'm getting paid for my esports job now, and inside I'm like, woo!
Yes. That's great.
And then just like trying to put pressure on like my coworkers or my boss over at the esports gigs to make sure that we develop this community the right way, because the esports groups that I work for are acquired by corporations. So obviously things lose that personal touch. Yeah. So I try to act nonchalant in trying to add that personal touch back in, trying to make sure that we develop things with the community in mind rather than just, oh, this is what our sponsors want.
Yeah, kind of like exactly like a blanket coverage kind of response. Exactly. Yeah, that's awesome. Time to change pace again. We are going to get very serious on this one. Is cereal a soup? Why or why not?
I'm going to have to say that cereal is not a soup.
Not a soup.
And I think that primarily stems from the fact in my mind that a soup would be hot. So if nothing else, we could go into the argument of soup versus stew if you wanted to. But cereal would never be, in my definition, something that I consider a soup based on temperature alone.
That's a fair point. I would say, like some soups are served cold. So
I've never seen some of those cold soups. So I'll just have to take your word for it.
but we can meet in the middle. I'm totally cool with that. All right. So we finally reached the end of the interview. Who would you like to nominate for El Cafecito the next time?
I'd like to nominate someone from RAM Radio. Ideally, either our GA lead, graduate assistant lead. I forget his name because he's brand new and I've only talked to him twice. So if you're watching this, forgive me. I swear I'll learn your name. Or the assistant manager, Jacob Tucker, who I've worked with for a couple years. So someone from RAM Radio, because they're really working hard to develop one branch of RAM Media here that's, more traditional. While it is expiring, it is also translating into an online way, podcast, virtualness. It's not just the radio that you know and love, like Kixie 104.5 FM or anything like that. It's translating to the new modern technology. So ideally, get one of those people online and they'll show you a good time and show you what RAM radio is all about.
Awesome. We'll have to reach out to them then. Well, thank you so much, Joe, for coming on with us today. Had a great discussion about Star Wars. Love that.
Hey, just swing by the Discord later if you ever want to talk more
I
Star
will.
Wars or
Discord, you kind of piqued my interest with Among Us. I'm going to have to swing by now, you may have.
And just to clarify to those watching, while we are primarily a game club, we don't need you to come in with the intent of gaming. We have people who come in, asking for tips on college stuff, first generation students, new freshmen, even people who are juniors or seniors wanting advice on certain classes. We're trying to build a virtual RAM fam community that extends even beyond our intent of gaming and esports. So if you're interested, at ASU Game Club on Instagram or Twitter, our Discord invites in there. Discord's completely free to all users, and 24/7 you can talk to other students, play games, whatever you want.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, got to thank you for coming on with us. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this edition of El Cafecito. Be sure to tune in next time. Bye.